Hey guys, it's Adam and I'm gonna be giving this short tutorial on Git to allow you to collaborate in an easier manner while developing your projects. Moreover, Git is an essential tool any developer is expected to have in today's market. So without further ado, let's get into it. We will start by explaining the need behind this tool and how essentially you would have to collaborate without it, the old way. Next, we will go on to define Git and its high-level structure. Moreover, we will take a closer look on how Git can be utilized locally for personal projects as well as using it to collaborate with teams through GitHub. Lastly, we will go over a short hands-on tutorial on a simple example to tackle how it actually works in real life. I want you to imagine collaborating with your teammates on the project. How are you going to share files? Are you simply going to work on one computer the whole time? Of course not. A natural human response for this would be to send files via email or simply transfer from one machine to another using a hard disk. Moreover, assuming you found a way to make this a non-tedious process, what would you do if you faced a major error? How are you going to revert back to a previous stable version? And the list goes on why we really need this tool. So what is Git? There's plenty other tools for version control, but Git is the most popular. It's an open source version control system that scales up with any project size. It is not the same as GitHub. We will discuss the difference in a later section. Simply put, Git alone on a local machine is like a memory card for code. You can create backups for projects at any stage, which gives you more room for modifying code and less worries on how to get it back if it doesn't work out. Moreover, it allows you to branch between different versions of a project, potentially allowing you to test certain features and release others. Let's take a look on some of its commands. Git init, from its name, it initializes a new repository in the current local directory, as if you are plugging in the memory card. Next, we have git add, file name, which is equivalent to selecting which files you want to save. Usually, you would call git add with a point to solve all files. Now, to save the files onto the memory card, we call git commit with -m and a message to describe what we added. Writing clear and concise messages is extremely important when you want to get back to it later in the future and for your teammates to understand what exactly you did in that commit. As for GitHub, which is the same thing as Bitbucket, GitLab, and many other platforms, it is a website that is built on top of the Git tool to allow for seamless collaboration between developers on a team. By the way, many open source projects that are worked on by millions of developers worldwide are hosted on GitHub. The first essential command for this phenomenon is git pull, which allows you to get all the posted changes on the online repo onto your local machine. For example, if my teammate informed me that they have added a feature to a certain branch, I can go and pull these changes and check them out. Moreover, there is git checkout, branch name, to switch between branches. This is extremely important since in real-world development, when you want to work on a feature, you would check out to a new branch for that feature and work on that branch. Once you are done, you would ask the Scrum Master to merge your work with the main branch by doing something known as pull request. One important rule for the main branch is to have it always contain a working version of the project. Lastly, we have git push, which allows you to push your local changes to the online repo on GitHub by setting the origin branch name you would like to push it to. This is Git in a nutshell. Of course, there is a plethora of other commands, but these are the main ones you need to get started. Now, let's get to the hands-on part. For Linux and macOS users, you should already have Git installed on your machine by default. As for Windows users, let's go over how you can install it. So first, you need to go onto Git's website. You follow this link and you can find the page. You need to click on Download for Windows to get the compatible version for your device. Along with the tool, you will get a command line interface called git bash, which allows you to run the git commands on your local machine. Now, let me go onto my desktop. Let me create a new folder I'm gonna name it Adam project. Let me cd onto that. And the first command we learned for git was to initialize a repository. So let me do that. So as you can tell, initialized an empty repository in this path, and by default, I'm on the master branch. So far, it's good. Now, let's add some files. So I'm gonna add an index.html file. The touch command is used to add any file. So I added that. And now the file is saved, and I can check that using the ls command. So index.html is on this path. However, this file isn't saved yet onto the repository. It's saved on my machine on the file tree. However, it's not on the local repository. And in order to save it, I need to run two commands: git add index.html and git commit added index.html file. Now, this message is extremely important for exactly two reasons. One, if you want to refer back to previous commits in the future, you would easily distinguish each commit from the other by simply looking at the message. And two, if your teammates want to look at your commits, they would actually understand what you accomplished during that commit. So after I commit, I can actually review my log using git log. I can tell that I did this commit with this ID on the master branch by Adam on this date, and the message is this. So if I have a lot of commits, I can actually distinguish these commits from each other by simply reviewing the message. Now let's do something more fun. So let's say I want to do another feature, but it's actually a bit risky and I cannot implement it on the master branch, because what if things go sideways and the project doesn't run anymore? So let's check what branches we have by running git branch, and I only have the master branch. So let me git checkout -b, which creates a new branch if it's not already present, and I'm gonna name it feature 1. So now I'm on feature 1, as you can tell. So on this feature 1, I want to implement a navigation bar. So I created the file, but I need to save it as well. And now the file is saved on this branch. However, if I go to master again and I say ls, I can only find the index.html file, but the navigation bar h.html is only saved on the feature 1 branch, which is completely normal. So now, after I've reviewed the code, I want to actually see it on master. There's a merge operation I can run, which is using the git merge command, and I specify the names of the two branches, which is master and feature 1. Now if I do ls on master, I can actually see the navigation bar here. This is mainly it for using it on your local machine while developing alone. But how about using it to develop with your teammates through GitHub? First, you need to go onto GitHub and create an account. And after creating an account, you will get this interface. So click on New to create a new repository. Let's name it Adam Project 1, and I'm going to set it to private, and I'm going to create it. Now, ideally, the Scrum Master is responsible for creating the repository. After creating the repository, I would add my teammates onto the project by inviting collaborators. I would say add people, and I would search for them on GitHub using their GitHub username. So now GitHub is kind enough to actually give us a quick setup guide on how to set things up. Now, if you have a repository on your local machine, you need to run this code, and if you don't, you need to run this. So since we already have one on our local machine, let's run these commands. This is basically to send or transfer our local repository onto the online repository on GitHub. If I refresh the page, I can actually see my local repository is now live on GitHub. Now, as a Scrum Master and I am managing a team, I would assign different tasks to different teammates. So let's say I assign my teammate a task to design and implement a footer. All right, so my teammate would actually go onto their terminal and run this command git checkout b footer feature, and they would write all the necessary code they need to actually get it done. And after they assure and made sure that everything is working fine, they would actually save everything onto their branch, and they would actually need to, if they only did that, they saved it onto their local repository on the footer feature branch. And even if I refresh this, I cannot see any changes. So what they need to do is git push origin. They need to set the origin to the footer feature. And now, just wait a second. You can tell foot feature had recent pushes 2 seconds ago. Now, since I'm the Scrum Master and I'm the teammate at the same time, I have this pop-up here. But usually only the teammate who did the change and actually pushed onto the repository would see this to initiate a pull request so the Scrum Master can review. Now, as a teammate, I would actually describe what I did in this feature. Well, I implemented the footer section of the page. No difficulties were encountered. And I would create a pull request so the Scrum Master can eventually review it and merge if everything is checked is right. So as a Scrum Master, I would go into the pull requests and I would see that my teammate Adam created this feature. And I will actually preview this feature and write any comments I have if I need anything changed before actually merging it onto the main branch. So GitHub also automatically checks if there's any conflict between the main branch and this footer feature branch, because conflicts may happen if my teammate on the footer feature branch changes any of the files that were created on the master branch and then they push. So now conflicts would occur. So basically, you would need to review these conflicts one by one and decide which version you need present on the new master branch. So after checking everything, you need to merge the pull request and confirm the merge. So after you're done with a feature, it's actually a good practice to delete the branch. And now, as you can tell, on the master branch, we have the footer.html file. If I go back onto the terminal of my local repository and I go onto master and I run ls, I cannot find the footer because I have the old version of the code. So what I need to do is git pull. One file changed, which is the footer.html, and actually 0 bytes because it's empty. So if I do ls now, I can find the footer.html. And now it's a very important rule to keep in mind that whenever you want to start working on something, you need to git pull to have the latest version on your machine. There's actually one important feature on GitHub which would help you a lot. It's the Kanban board we talked about during class. So you need to head out into the projects tab, click on new project, select the board to have the Kanban board, and then name it whatever you like. As you can tell, we have the board split into 3 sections: the to do, the in progress, and the done. So first you need to create a new task. There's the navbar. You can assign the task to certain teammates, and you can drag the task between the different sections of the board to keep track of which tasks are done, which tasks are being done, and which tasks haven't been touched yet. This will help you a lot in proper project management and to keep track of the execution of the tasks to ensure a highly productive collaboration on the project. Thank you so much for watching. This is mainly it for Git and GitHub on project collaboration. I wish you the best of luck on your projects, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.